Jim, let's get away from purple blood boils and let's get back to finishing our talk about modern WWE. WWE Raw, which aired last night as we are recording.
Well, they were in Dallas, Texas, and they had 12,913 people there, according to the announcers. And Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns came to the ring, Brian, to top the program off. They had the replay of his return last week and the slow entrance and the slow walks around the ring, and he milked the fans for the cheers. There was light singing of his name. There was an okay OTC chant, but it was not thunderous. And when he finally spoke, Dallas, Texas, acknowledge me. He got a pop, but that was 8 minutes into the show. And yes, they showed the tape of the return from last week or whatever. But do you think his heel entrance with the slow walk and the it worked with the bloodline. It worked with the pageantry. It worked with the minions behind him and the fat wise man with the bald head and the Ulafala was involved. That was a procession. This is not a babyface entrance, is it? I know he still wanted to be cool Roman Reigns, but there's no reason to jump up and throw the babies when Roman Reigns is coming to the ring, is there?
You know, it's a weird reaction, and then you start thinking about it, and you ask yourself, what's the appeal? He doesn't talk like a babyface. And again, heels get over too, but he's still kind of talking the way he did as the head of the bloodline. Heyman comes out, and I don't want to get ahead of you, but Heyman almost exposes him for real. He says, let me show you how this is done. Yeah. And then he does it, and Roman's standing there with his dick in his hand, and you're like, man, it really was all Heyman. Heyman really was the guy who set the presence. There's something, there is something missing right now with Roman Reigns, it feels like.
But that's the thing is that we talked about SmackDown. Cody, the top babyface on that program, comes out, says, what do you want to talk about? And gets interrupted. And here comes the heels. The same thing here. Dallas, Texas, acknowledge me. After this whole procession, we're going to hear what he has to say. And boom, music interrupts. And here comes Paul and Bronson Reed to the entrance, not into the ring. But they can't even let them say something to acknowledge the pretext why they were out there so that these people can interrupt them. And they milked the booze, and they stood there long enough that Roman asked, did you come out here to just stare at me? And then Paul spoke. Now we're almost 10 minutes into the show before anything has happened. And Paul, as you said, let me show you how it's done. And gave the big intro as the tribal chief to Bronson Reed. And part of that was Paul, the hype man, building the thing up. And then Roman Reed being the Roman Reigns. Robert Reed, who apparently never fucked Florence Henderson. But the point being, it's so just blah when Roman says, yeah, he's got the badass aura and persona, but it's slow. And Paulie put Reed over for being the first guy to make Roman leave on a stretcher. He was carried out. He was taken to the hospital. And then Bronson Reed asked for the microphone, which I thought, oh, bad move. But he was brief. And he told Roman, he's like, what would Afa and Sika say? They never got stretchered out. How would they feel now? And then Roman Reigns said, well, my dad would say, fight him now. So let's do it now. And Paul talks Bronson Reed out of it. And Roman's trying to goad him. Says, okay, whenever, whatever fashion, etc. So Paul then turns around and says, well, we're going to make it. So now Paul can make the matches. Not only agree to a fight, but a specific date, 5 days hence, and specific rules and blah, blah, blah. Saturday in Australia, in Bronson Reed's specialty that he's never lost, the Australian street fight. From the mean streets of Sydney, from the ghettos of Perth. I'm not trying to disrespect our Aussie fans, but are the streets in Australia known for being violent, or is that more of the outback? Do they fucking have knife fights in the outback like Crocodile Dundee and etc.? Have we ever seen an Australian street fight before, Brian, to know that this is Bronson Reed's big match? Where the fuck did this come from? That's what I'm asking you.
It came out of Paul Heyman's ass. It would be my first guess. We have not seen it.
Geez, he'll never notice it's missing with all the storage space he's got.
Makes you wonder, what would it be if Crown Jewel was in Akron? Would it be an Akron street fight? I guess they need something.
An Akron rubber fight.
Hey, listen, I've seen enough Roman Reigns matches. A street fight may be the best thing, because otherwise it's going to be slow and deliberate, like an A24 film. It's going to take forever. It's going to slow down. Eventually, they'll turn up the mic so you can hear him giving his speech in the middle of the match to the other guy. A street fight may be the best bet.
It'll keep him busy, is what you're trying to say. So finally, the heels are going to leave, and Roman says, you're leaving like a couple of little bitches. And that's all that Bronson Reed could stand. He turns around and charges to the ring. They get in a fight. They go to the floor. Roman hits him with a Superman punch. Security and the agents and everybody come out. They have a big pull apart. He hits him with another Superman punch. And they played music, and everybody left. So we were almost 20 minutes into the show for talk that could have been talked in 4 minutes and a 1 minute fight. And it just, again, I think back to, we had a 2-hour show when we'd write Raw, and Vince would fucking freak out if, God damn it, you're wasting time here. Let's get into action. Get them in the ring. What the fuck is taking so long? Or what? And now it's just, but nevertheless, your thoughts on your predictions on the big Aussie street fight. Is somebody going to get hit with a kangaroo, or will wallaby darned?
I don't have any prediction. It's weird. I can't tell you who's going to win. I also can't tell you I'm going to care. I'm sure I'll enjoy it, but again, there's an apathy that's setting in because of the pacing of these shows and just nothing happening. And then just the similarity in what happens from one show. I mean, from SmackDown to Raw. Again, same kind of opening segment. And, you just know it's going to be a long ride to get wherever you have to go.
Well, we rode past Becky Lynch versus Maxine Dupree, old model girl, who apparently got a count-out victory over Becky. And then the next match was Lyric against Roxanne. And then they had miscellaneous packages and spots and backstage promos. And so an hour and 10 minutes into the show, this is without commercials. I'm watching the replay without commercials. An hour and 10 minutes into the show, we have had the opening interview and 2 girls matches and some people trying to sell us some stuff. And then, like Mussolini, waking up the crowdy. Here comes Punk, and they woke up. And I don't know whether it's particularly Dallas or whatever, but Punk got to pop of the show. It was bigger than Roman's. They sang the song louder. They did the clobbering time. But here's another thing. What I said about Roman, the slow entrance works as a heel with a heel faction, but as a babyface, you need some excitement, even if you're a cool babyface. But Punk comes out and keeps it going. He's got the facials. He's slapping the hands, or he's pointing to people. He's happy. He's doing shit. And it brings the people up, and then he gets the CM Punk chants and a big pop on "It's great to be alive" in Dallas, Texas on Monday at 8 o'clock Central or whatever the fuck. And he sang "Deep in the Heart of Texas," or got them to sing it. Whatever. He gets people into it. The delivery, the inflections, he's speaking genuinely, even though it's a work. He's the point is that's what a babyface has to create some kind of excitement when they come out, and he's doing that, whereas Roman did not get the response. That's what I'm trying to say, bro. And he, thanked the fans for welcoming AJ Lee back. That got a pop. And he plugged Cody and Seth. He promised Cody he was going to stay out of his business, but he still wants the title match with Seth. Because Seth Rollins, I'm better than you, and everybody knows it. Do you think, is MJF going to call Stephen New to sue for trademark infringement?
Oh, that was a real question?
You can't. Yes, you can't. You can't comment. You have insider knowledge.
I'm a client of Stephen P. New. I don't know if I'm allowed to comment on. I don't even know if MJF and Stephen P. New know each other, but I don't know.
Well, no, it was a nice little nod to a former compadre who's stuck in La La Land on the island.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they get along, those two. But I don't know.
Well, it's easier to give a nod to a former compadre that's stuck on La La Land on an island when you're in this land of civilization and he's dealing with Gilligan and the fucking skipper. But anyway, he says he's going to become the new world champion, and that's cue for LA Knight's music. And LA Knight comes out very purposefully. And Punk is pissed that he's being interrupted. And LA Knight had these people. Let me talk to you. They go, yeah. And then he said, look in my eyes. What do you see? And Punk said, somebody who interrupted me. And LA Knight is pissed because he hadn't got his reign as world champion. And Punk's now is known more for being a husband than the pipe bomb. But you're probably a great husband, but a trashy champ. You had 5 minutes as champ. You lost at SummerSlam to Seth. Blah, blah, blah. You know who he's never beat, who he's never, ever, ever, ever beat? And Punk said some guy that's never, ever, ever been champion, and got a pop that seemed like it threw LA Knight off for a minute.
You know what? That reaction was pretty big, and it did seem like it threw him off.
And it was a great comeback, timed perfectly. And one would think that you would almost have expected that to come from a guy as quick as Punk if you said something that way. But nevertheless, he got it back, though. The people laughed at him, and he was like, but I'm 2-0 against Seth Rollins, and I'm going to be world champion. And then here Jey Uso's music plays. And now I'm like, Jesus Christ. Now this is starting to be AEW because we're starting to have a cast of millions. But he comes out, they yeeted him. He's over. But he said he never got his rematch, and he's next in line. And then LA Knight tells Jey Uso off. His time has come and gone. It's my time now. You ought to focus on the tag team title and maybe stop sucking as a tag team. And apparently the truth hurt there because here came Jimmy out without any music or anything, just walking out. But as he did that, Jay hauled off and super kicked LA Knight and knocked him goofy. So Punk is still, all right, I guess we're cool, Usos, since he interrupted you and a blah, blah, blah. But you've got to understand, I want the title. Get in line behind me. Maybe you should focus on being the tag team champions. And he told Jay, he said, I love Jey Uso, but I don't like Little Roman. Oh, them's fighting words. And Jay shoves Punk, and they start arguing. And Jimmy's in the middle trying to keep them apart. And Jay tried to super kick Punk, but Jimmy grabbed him and stopped him. And when he did that, Punk took the opportunity, slipped Jimmy, and nailed Jay. knock him on his ass. And then he turned around and Jimmy super kicked Punk because, well, it's still his brother. It all made sense as far as who had wronged who verbally and why somebody should want to punch somebody. I'm just, again, I think it's not only a little busy, but also they're setting up some other kind of multiple man shenanigans, I'm pretty sure. But when you have all the baby faces being, I understand they need to be driven toward the title and want to get the title, but when you have all of them being prickish with each other, the fans, we were just talking about, the fans take sides, even though they're all faces based on who their favorite is. And that's why that Vince Sr. and most every other promoter throughout history didn't put his baby faces against each other except in cases of misunderstanding or rarely, and it would hopefully be resolved at the end. But just somebody to the fans, somebody in this, no matter who it is going to look like a dick, and that just diminishes some of your baby faces. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I do. I also have been thinking that it seems like an LA Knight heel turn may be on the horizon, but I've been thinking it for a little while. But more and more
But he maybe wasn't even the biggest dick in this, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, when you think about it and it's like, oh, another multi-man match. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of like this guy versus this guy versus this guy, which is a real crutch of Triple H. You know, Punk's been in pretty heated feuds. Him and Rollins, although that may have gotten a bit muddy. Him and Drew was just a concise, this guy and this guy. They don't like each other. That's what's happening. Acknowledging other people don't like him too. You know, like Rollins.
Yes.
You knew that was coming. This, you know, if LA Knight's not turning heel, I don't think it would be the stupidest thing ever to turn Punk heel right now.
Well, of course not.
Jey Uso, unless he stops selling merch, I wouldn't turn him necessarily right now. And again, the Usos are aligned with Roman again, who probably could use a heel turn right now. I don't know. It's, you know, and again,
Punk is best also when he's focused on one guy.
That's right.
Punk is a guy who mentally understands what the wrestling business is and has used his determination to, not blessed with the athletic ability of a gold medalist, but with the psychology and the verbal ability of a guy who understands wrestling, has willed his body to follow. And it's best when it's one-on-one, when it's a specific issue, when it's a grudge about somebody that he can talk about, and it just multiple people muddies the shit up.
Yeah, plus it doesn't seem like Punk has an issue. You care. I mean, the fans care about Punk because he's a star. You know, out of everyone there, He's one of the people you could say is a star, is a draw. But he's not angry or focused on anything. He's just kind of, hey, I'm out here to do a promo and tell everyone how great you are and let's sing. And it's not like I have a message, I have a point, and then when you're thinking it could come from something, it's this big thing here.
Most of the fans, if you, Seth, LA Knight, and Jey Uso, they would want either of the three of them to have a world title match with Seth. But if you said it could only be one, most would probably pick Punk because he's the bigger star of the three. Next, they'd probably pick Jey because he had it before. And last, they'd probably pick LA Knight just because of the way that everybody's been presented. But everybody still has their supporters, so now you're just pissing some of those people off at your other baby faces. Nevertheless, then later on, of course, after all of this, it's going to be, the main event is going to be Punk and LA Knight against the Usos in a tag team match, playa. But this show, in between the 20-minute promos, it was an episode of Glow. because then we got EO against Carrie. And we've already had Becky and Maxine and Lyric and Roxanne. Now we got EO and Carrie. So it turns out the only 2 men's matches on a 2.5 hour wrestling program came in the last 30 or 40 minutes of the show. And of course, there's also arguments amongst the Usos because Jimmy is telling Roman that they're not like him anymore. And Roman's telling Jimmy that when Jay won the title, he became more like me and less like you. So there's the bloodline drama is beginning again, but I'm not sure they can recreate all of this stuff. And there's problems with Seth and Paul in the back, where Seth is asking Paul, what happens if I lose Saturday? And Paul finally told him off and said, at some point, I'm going to have to ask myself why I picked you over Roman. So now there's problems with them. Nobody can trust anybody around this place. Have you noticed that, Brian? And then there was Penta and AJ Styles and Dragon Lee against JD and Finn and Dominic. And that was just fine. The only men's match in the first 2 hours of the program. And then we got to the main event. Did you notice that the Usos were late on their entrance? The music was playing and they didn't appear out of the vomitorium. That's actually what they're called. From the breezeway into the arena, the music was playing. They didn't show up long enough. The announcers did they get lost? Did you see what happened behind the scenes?
Well, I did not see what happened behind the scenes, no.
They had some fan cam footage or whatever. They got mobbed up there by the fans expecting them to enter or whatever. The security lost control and the cameraman that was with them and both the Usos got stuck in a sea of people and couldn't get into the arena. So they're probably going to have to revamp their methods of blocking off their entranceway. But they came out, and then Punk and LA Knight, who didn't want to team with each other, they come out to sort of separate entrances and then hit the ring together and get in a fight. And by the time that the fight starts, they had one more commercial break, but they literally had 10 minutes of program that was going to be televised from that point. And it was Brian, as the noted manager of the greatest heel tag team of the modern era of wrestling, does it sound like sour grapes when I continue to say that the Usos aren't a very good tag team? Am I missing something?
I wouldn't call that sour grapes. I would call that facts. They've been heavily pushed in WWE from almost the very beginning. They've held the tag titles a bunch of times, so there are fans who see them as legends of the era. But when you compare the in-ring work to other great tag teams that are universally considered to be great tag teams, even other WWE tag teams, like the Killer Bee, like just anyone, the work is different. And I don't mean that in a good way, and I don't think it holds up.
Well, finally, boom, boom, boom. LA Knight hit the BFT on JIMMY, but then Jay super kicked LA Knight and in Punk Schoolboy Jay, and that was a nice little timing they got on that spot there. Boom, 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 got a 2 count. Jay hit Punk with a spear and was going to go to the top rope, but saw LA Knight and ran and nailed him off the apron, and then turned into Punk's go to sleep. When Punk hit that, he collapsed back in the corner because he was fatigued from the previous blow. And LA Knight on the apron tagged Punk's shoulder and jumped in and covered Uso 1, 2, 3. And Punk standing there like, motherfucker. And LA Knight rolled out laughing. But Raw was 2.5 hours, and we got As I mentioned, the long opening promo, 3 girls matches, the long Punk and LA Knight Nuso promo, a 6-man tag, and 10 minutes of this main event match. Yeah. And a lot of commercials, a lot of promos, a lot of chances to spend more money on the various things that they're doing.
Yeah, no, I finished Raw and then I immediately said, let me get some tickets for Smashing Machine right after I get back from Riyadh season. Because these ads are really speaking to me. Well, Jim, that was WWE Raw, and on the topic of commercials, we'll be right back after this short commercial timeout.